Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my Brazilian rain tree, repotting it, and doing a bit of trimming.
I recently repotted my Ficus microcarpa, and it was in this large oval plastic pot. And the canopy on the rain tree is quite wide, so I was thinking I need to put it in a bigger pot, and it'll take up the same amount of space, whether it's in a smaller pot or a larger pot, because of the width of the canopy. So I'm going to put it in a larger pot and grow the tree larger, and my goal is to create that huge umbrella shaped canopy that almost comes down to the soil level.
Alright, I'll get the tree out of the pot, so here I go. It's coming. There it goes. Wow, very root bound. It definitely needed a larger pot.
And I can begin to rake out the roots. Beautiful moss on top. I'll have to save that. So I'm raking from the center of the tree outwards. That way I'm only ripping crossing roots and not their nice radial roots that I want. And it's good to clean out the roots. You don't want them this packed in. You want some space for the water to get between the roots so it, you don't get dry spots in your root base. You can start to see the flare at the base of the tree here because of the nice radial root system. So that's exciting to see. So now I'm starting to dig a little deeper in the root base here, clearing out some of the old soil. Again, going in a radial pattern, untangling the roots. So the weather looks good for the upcoming few days. Warm temperatures, so it's a good time to repot the tree. A lot of winding roots that went around the edge of the pot here. I think I'll flip the tree over now and start working on the bottom. All right. Gotta watch the thorns. All right, I'll start in the middle, rake outwards. There's one drainage screen. There's my second one. Quite a tangle of roots down here. They went round and round the pot. So this is the second time I've repotted this tree since I had it. It was a gift from Connor. It was just in a plastic training tub. This tree is just in a flimsy plastic nursery pot that has a whole bunch of holes poked in it. So one of my goals today is to get it into a better pot. I'll probably put it in a bonsai pot. There it goes. I think, if I kind of average it out, there's a nice root coming off here, right here. So if I were to cut this long root off to here, I would keep most of my roots, keep it nice and moist, and we'll get it in the new pot. The Brazilian rain tree is on its way to becoming a bonsai someday. Right now it's in the early stages, but I'll spin the tree around now so you can see it from all angles. It's the side, the back, the other side, and back somewhere to the front. So the root system wasn't really good when I last repotted it. I made some steps to correct it, but hopefully today I can get it a little better. Okay, I think I'm going to wash the root system now. Just get all the old soil out so I can see what's going on a little more clearly. It's a very quiet Sunday morning. but I think the city will be waking up soon. And maybe the noise levels will increase, but... Well, that's good. I can see a lot more here. So I'll just work away at cleaning out the roots. So Brazilian rain trees grow fairly easy from cuttings. I was successful in getting some cuttings off of this tree. And if a tree grows well from cuttings, you know that they root fairly easily under good conditions. So you can root prune them quite severely and they'll recover, generally. Okay, let me flip it over and I'll work a bit on the underside. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We'll go back to the bench and start the root pruning. Alright, I've carefully set it on the bench. Let me get it up right here. I'll comb the roots out. So you can see they're not totally balanced. There's some long ones, some shorter ones, some thicker ones, some skinnier ones. So I'm going to try and sort all that out. Okay, so that's combed out. I'm going to start by doing a trim around the edges, just getting rid of the long ones. This kind of balances the vigor in the root system. Like that. Now, off to this side, there's a root kind of, I want the roots flowing, you know, the line from the trunk curving and flowing into the soil. And I've got one sticking up here. So I'm going to sort out what's going on there and correct it. So right here, there goes the train. I'll remove that root up top as starters, right there. And then this is the thick root going off of here, starting here, and it's gained a lot of vigor. I'm just going to try and see if there's another root underneath or anything. See what's going on in that area. Okay, so it's definitely, there's a root here that's nice and radial. I'm just going to take this part off. And this is the part of the root that sticks up. So here's a better view of that. So you can see everything's nice flowing into the soil except for that one root. So that has to be removed. So I'm going to come in with my knob cutters and try and get around that root and take it off. Here I go. Like that. Untangle it. There it goes. So that'll make a nice flowing root base now. So I'll clean up that area some more, just so I can clearly see what's going on there. I think I'll get out my misting bottle. Okay, now I can see what's going on here. So, just looking for good roots. All right, let's start pruning here. There's one sticking up in the air here. Off. There's some thick ones at the base here I'm going to take off, or at the end of that root. It's a little thick, that root, and I want to keep the vigor down to balance the root system. There's one here that takes a funny direction. Must have hit the edge of the pot. I'm going to take this one off. There's a better one underneath. Okay, really. There's one sticking up here. Take that off. Now I've got another fairly thick root on this side, and it sort of goes into the soil. It's a little horizontal. I'd rather it curve down a little more, but I can't remove it. It's a fairly important root on that side, so I'm going to trim all the roots off the top of it for starters. It is getting quite thick too, so I've got to reduce the vigor in it. Like that. And then I want to take this, it goes upwards here. So I got to take that off, the upwards part. Like that. And then there's another root kind of going upwards there. So that's much better. It does at least flow a little bit downward into the soil. Maybe I could take this one off a bit. It's kind of sticking up a little high still, like that. Okay, yeah, that's about all I can do to that root. You're just saying, you know, could I remove it totally? I don't think so. I think, you know, this will all thicken up and it'll look quite good someday. There's a root here, kind of comes uphill. I'm going to correct that, and it's getting quite thick. So I'll take this part of it off, like that. Now I'm coming around. Just do a little combing here. Little spraying. Okay, so I've got a root here that's sticking up. I have to prune that off. There. There's one here that's coming kind of a funny direction and it's sticking up too high, so I'll take that one off. Like that. There's one sticking up here. I'll move the part that goes uphill. One here. Okay. Still sorting out this section here. Okay, so there's a root here, and I think it comes from this big thick one and kind of goes in a funny direction, so that will need correcting or pruning away. Yeah. Okay, so let me see if there's any good parts of that root. I don't see any. There's kind of nothing fanning in a radial direction. I'll take this part off. And it's sticking up too high. I'll prune it back like this. Cutting it back on an angle. Maybe something will develop. Just seeing if there's anything. I don't like it at all. I'm going to take it right back. It's just not a good root. It's really kind of congesting, making that area congested, cluttering up that area. Okay, all right, I think that's pretty good for the top. I mean, there might be a few other minor roots here I can take off. So I think that's pretty good, you know, for my surface roots, the visible ones. Let's go underneath now and check the underside. Yeah, so underneath the roots here, I've got, you know, some fairly good spreading roots, which aren't the worst in the world. I'll just kind of trim it back to a bit of a flatter root base. You want it flat on the bottom. That's pretty good there. There's a few. You can see these roots, how they curled when they hit the edge of the pot. I want to get rid of those. So I'll come in and just kind of, again, just flattening the root base. So from the side view, it looks a little more flat. And sorry if I have bad photography here. Sometimes I just get concentrating on pruning the roots and I just forget about the camera and my hands. Okay, that's looking pretty good. That's a nice kind of flat radial root base now. Now this was always the front of my tree here, and it's nice, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's better roots. I think the roots look better on this side, and I kind of like the single trunk line coming up and then more branching behind. So I think I'll probably change the front to over here. This pot is really large for this meager tree and root base, but I think it'll grow quite quickly into this pot. I've got my pot all cleaned up and I've got the drainage screens in, so now I can add a base layer of soil. All right, that's good. Level it off. Now I've got to determine where I'm going to place the tree. So I'm going to position it here. You'll be seeing the back of the tree. So the tree does kind of lean off this direction, so I don't want it at the edge of the pot here. I want it over this direction so the overall composition is balanced. So that would be on center, so I want to offset it a bit, I think to about there. And I want it, you know, fairly central in the pot widthwise, so it allows the roots to grow out evenly. So I think somewhere there, and that height looks quite good there. You can just start to see the root base above the soil line. So I think that's where I'm going to plant it. I'll give the root system a final comb out, making sure everything's nice and radial. Okay, that looks good there. And now I can add the soil. All right, here I go with the soil. I'll pile the soil up quite high at the base of the tree here, and then I can always rake it away later as the roots get established in the pot. So I'm still a little low with my soil level. And that'll have to do because that's about all the soil I have mixed up at the moment. And that is enough too. Just perfect. Okay, I got to work the soil into the roots a bit more. Having a flat radial root system makes it easier to work the soil into the roots. If you have a really deep root base on your tree, it's a little harder. So the tree's feeling fairly stable in the pot, a little more in the front here maybe, or the back. This is the back. So I'll definitely have to stabilize the tree. I'll put some stones around it to hold the tree in the pot. And after probably, you know, a month I can take them away. Maybe not even a month. Depends how fast the tree grows. Okay, that's looking good. So I'll give it a water now. All right, here I go with the water. This is the front of the tree now. At the present moment, it could change again, who knows. Okay, that's good. I'm going to do some pruning on the tree. I think, you know, it's getting a little out of shape, and removing a bit of the foliage will reduce the load on the root system, and I think it'll help the tree recover a bit. There's a branch sticking out the front here that needs a bit of pruning also. So here I go. I think I better put some stones around the base of the tree so I don't accidentally bump it and tip it over in the pot while I'm pruning. So I'll do that. All right, found a mixture of stones. I'll put this one right here. And I'll put this one over here. I'll put one back here. And I think I'll put this one over here. And maybe one here. And one here. That feels good and stable. All right, here I go with the pruning. It'll be kind of a profile prune. I'm using directional pruning, trying to, you know, determine where the new growth comes. Oh, take that back to there. And this one I'm going to take right off here. And I have a rather tall one here. I can see the leaves are folding up. I think that's pretty good. Bit off the edges here. Yeah. Tip off there. Tip off there. Maybe a little further back there. Okay. I'm looking at the tree, and even after the pruning, it doesn't look ridiculous in that pot. Like, it doesn't look really tiny. So I think by the end of summer, it'll probably look quite comfortable in the pot. The trunk may still be a little skinny, but I think the canopy will fill out and it'll look quite reasonable. And then over the next, you know, few years, probably 5 years, it can stay in this pot and it'll keep thickening and developing, and it'll look quite good, I think. I'll put my Brazilian rain tree in the greenhouse to recover. I'll keep it misted and well watered, and hopefully in a few weeks, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks, I'll show an update, and hopefully it'll be really lush and nice looking. Let's have a look at it now in the greenhouse. There it is. That's a good spot for it. I've got all my seed trays up here. The Jerusalem thorns are still doing really well. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 of them now. So that's pretty amazing. You can see the first true leaves just coming out on them. So that's awesome. No sign of life in any of the other pots yet. But, you know, it's still early. I still have hope. I did a little bit of cleaning out in the greenhouse the other day. My goal was to move a lot of these trees out of the greenhouse and just get my seed trays in here, so they're protected from birds and squirrels. So I'm still in that process. I'll show you what I've done. Over here in the new bonsai area, I've got my shelves out, my Shirley's simple shelving brackets at the ends here, and my wooden boards. I painted them with that thin black tar. It seems to be the best coating I've found for wood to keep it waterproof. Really soaks into the wood and gives a good coating. So I've got those benches out. Over here I've got that bench from my plant room, the one on wheels, out, and I've started filling that up. I've got my newly repotted Ficus microcarpa over here. So I'm keeping that well misted in the sun here. Yeah, so far it looks okay. It hasn't skipped a beat. There's my newly repotted Ficus rumphii. It's doing well too. Here's my money tree that I pruned back. It's got some new leaves coming out on it. I probably could have pruned it back harder. There's buds back here, and I may do that next time. Just prune it right back to the old wood and see how it does. It's nice having all this shelf space for my trees now, so I can, you know, maybe put all my succulents on the black bench here. Kind of spread them out a bit so you can see them a little more easily. I had a disaster on that arm-sized jade that I got from Jacques. It was in the greenhouse, and when I closed the door, that top shoot, which was the best shoot on it, just fell off. I don't know why. Yeah. That was the important one because it would make the transition from this fat trunk to a new canopy up top. But maybe something will grow out of here still. I've got new leaves coming on this branch. I had another branch that just fell off on it too. So I don't know, maybe, you know, it'll take some time for those roots to get established and growing. The trees on my cityscape penjing are really developing nicely now that they're outside. And they need pruning again soon. But it's really changed the landscape. It's, you know, more lush green moss on it. The canopies are filling in, kind of shading out the houses a little more. So hopefully, you know, eventually it'll be more focus on the trees and less on the buildings. My mixed planting, my bog style northern forest, has really grown. You can see the larches are just shooting out. The weeds I planted are really lush. I had to prune them back once. You couldn't even see in there. You still can't. There's a bit of weeding to do, and everything's needing pruning. Even the spruce are growing like crazy now. They're back budding. You can see back buds. So the health is really restored on these spruce. They're loving it. I think I'll have a lot of options next time I go to prune this forest. I'll have a lot of new branches, and yeah, it'll really help to keep this thing looking miniature. I've got some beautiful daisies growing in a pot here. They just grew there all by themselves. Kind of a nice touch for the garden. My Frankenficus, the one that I fused the new top onto, is looking pretty lush. Amazing that I just hard pruned it not too long ago.
Well, I got my Brazilian rain tree repotted into a big pot. It's going to grow into a beautiful tree, I hope. And I gave you a few updates to some of my trees. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.